Who will be the starting quarterback of all 32 NFL teams in 2025? Welcome, football fans, to another BLV NFL prediction video. And in this video, I'm predicting every starter at the kickoff of the 2025 NFL season. That includes rookies, that includes free agents, that includes potential trades, and of course, the certain starters that we know are going to be there come the start of 2025. Gronk, spike the like button for more NFL content just like this, and don't be a jabroni, make sure to subscribe. Of course, guys, we know that there's a lot of starters that are pretty certain to be the guy for their team at the beginning of the season. So instead of just sharing my thoughts of why they're the starter, I'm going to share my expectations for each of those certain starters for 2025. And there are three categories for these quarterbacks. One, certain. This guy is the starter. No doubt in my mind, he's definitely going to start for that football team. Two, maybe. I'm pretty sure, I kind of think he's going to be the starter for this team, but I'm not 100% sold. And number three is the unknown, the real prediction, the real projection for that starting quarterback of that NFL team. So let's get started with, and we're going in order of division by division, team by team, in alphabetical order in the division. All right, so let's begin with the most obvious, arguably, in the NFL. That is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is the MVP of the NFL. I don't think he's going to be replaced, and he's also an Iron Man, which is what I love about him. My expectation for Josh Allen is that he not only plays at, once again, an MVP level, putting up his 40 touchdowns a season, as he typically does, but he gets the Bills to the promised land. He gets the Bills to the Super Bowl. That is my expectation for Josh Allen. Anything less is a failure for the MVP. The Miami Dolphins are set to still start Tua Tagovailoa, or as some Patriots fans may call him, Tua turn the ball over, as I know him more familiar. I feel like Tua's expectations and my hope is that he can stay healthy for an entire season, right? That is what I'm looking for from Tua. I know that he can have stretches of games where he's playing really well and he's executing that offense and that scheme at a very high level. I'd also like to see Tua put the doubters to rest when it comes to winning big games. Those are two expectations that I think Tua needs to prove to us. Otherwise, the Dolphins might be looking for a new starter in 2026. The New England Patriots will be starting my guy, Drake May. The amazing May will be the starter of the Patriots, and this is an interesting one because he's entering year two, the sophomore season. I don't believe will be a sophomore slump. I will be shocked if that's the case. I'm thinking that Drake May will seize the opportunity of working under Mike Vrabel, and I think he will have plenty more support post-free agency in the draft, and I think my expectation for Drake May is to take this team to flirting with a winning record, okay? To me, Drake May's season will be dictated not on individual success this next season. We know how talented he is. I could see him putting up many touchdowns in terms of rushing and throwing. I could see him definitely popping off in fantasy world and fantasy land, but I'm looking for 8 to 9 wins, and I will be satisfied. Anything more than that, I'll be absolutely elated. Anything less than that, I will be somewhat disappointed, but I'll have to see how the rest of the team looks. But to me, I have high expectations for Drake May, and that would mean taking this kind of undermanned team to success in his second season. The New York Jets are the first real prediction in this video, and I'm rocking with two different predictions here for one team. First, I think the Jets are going to be stuck with not many great options in free agency. They do have Tyrod Taylor, I believe, still under contract. So they could sway towards Tyrod Taylor as their veteran starting bridge option, along with a potential rookie that they may draft in the first round. But Russell Wilson does make sense. Russ has expressed that he wants to play in New York or New Jersey because of Sierra. And I think that is something that they would like to do and a place that they would like to live. And I think that's comfortable for Russ. Not only that, I feel like there's not going to be many opportunities out there for Russell Wilson, and not many that are better than the Jets. He's going to have 2 solid running backs. He's going to have Garrett Wilson to throw the football to, and a solid defense led by new head coach Aaron Glenn. I don't exactly know, with the new offensive coordinator there coming from Detroit with very little experience, what exactly at the quarterback position they're looking for. But I think basing on my knowledge of Jared Goff and Detroit's offense and Ben Johnson's offense, an offense that is run-driven with a good defense and a play-action passing attack is something that Russell Wilson can operate. And I think more importantly, Russell Wilson is a pro's pro, positive influence in the locker room, and a guy that can really tutor a younger quarterback. He seemed to have a good relationship with Justin Fields last year. So he's the type that I think you could pair with a Shedeur Sanders, right? And Sanders, I think, could be selected in that top 10. I don't expect him to go in the top 5, but I think due to desperation at the quarterback position, he'll be picked by rather a team like the Raiders or the Jets in that range, in my opinion. I don't think Sanders is an amazing prospect, but I do believe he has many compelling traits for a place like New York. I think the number one thing you need to understand about that market is that you need to be able to be mature and you need to be able to handle pressure, both on the field and off the field. And if there's anything that this guy does well, I think I would really like Shedeur Sanders. Like, as a human being, I think we would be friends. I think that's because he is very mature. I think he understands who he is. I think he understands how to take pressure. I think he understands how to talk to the media. I think he understands how to be a man. And that, credit Deion Sanders. But I feel like that's a good thing. A lot of guys that young don't know how to do that. A lot of the guys that the Jets have drafted are not at that level yet, maturity-wise. So for me, I feel like Sanders, yeah, he has good traits in terms of accuracy, poise, great under pressure in terms of his game on the field, but that's also the case off the field. So I think that could really be the answer for an Aaron Glenn culture shock and shift moving forward. So that's my solution for the New York Jets, or my prediction. Moving to the next division, we have the Baltimore Ravens, obviously nearly a back-to-back MVP. Lamar Jackson is going to be their quarterback. The expectation for Lamar is the same as Josh Allen. Not only do we expect MVP caliber play once again from Lamar, although saying, 3 years in a row is probably going to be pretty difficult, but if he can land in the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL next year, that would be a thumbs up for me. But really, I'm just looking for playoff success, even more so than Josh, because Lamar has had more individual letdowns than Josh Allen. I'm looking for a dominant postseason where Lamar puts the team on his back and gets them to the promised land, right? At least the AFC title game next year, but I would like to see the Super Bowl as well. So Lamar and Josh are in a similar boat where we've seen the individual accolades. We know the type of players they are. We're looking for that historic team success, okay? Next up, we've got Joe Burrow. Burrow, I'm looking for an MVP. That's what I'm looking for. Because I feel like last year, he put up those type of numbers. He put up those type of accolades. I'm looking for health. I'm looking for him to get his team back to the playoffs. But I'm also looking for an MVP. I'm looking for another season like he had last year, where he's arguably the best passer in the NFL. He's putting up great stats. He's being fantastic throwing the ball. I love watching him play when he's at his best. But I want to see that combined with winning as well. I don't want just empty stats all the time. I want the stats and I want the wins. And I think Burrow can piece together right now what feels like he is in his prime. And I think this could be just as good, if not a better season than last year, because the team success could complement that potentially here. Next up, we've got Kirk Cousins going to the Cleveland Browns. This is one of the more heavily driven, predicted landing spots for Kirk Cousins. I think this makes sense, and I thought about a rookie at number 2, but I have a different prediction for Cam Ward, so stick around for that. but Cam Ward would be the guy that the Browns would take at number 2. I don't think they'll take Sanders, but I could be wrong. They might take Sanders. Stefanski might like that style of play, but I kind of feel like regardless, the Browns need a cheap option. And the fact is, the Falcons are going to be paying Kirk Cousins. He's going to be this year's Russell Wilson, this year's transition quarterback, this year's gamble, low risk, high reward option, right? He's got another year removed from an Achilles and going to a system and a place that can comfort him, like Stefanski, the Browns with their installation of their offensive line, David Njoku at tight end, Jerry Jeudy, potentially a decent running game as Stefanski always carries, and that easy transition to a scheme that he's already successful in. It feels like this would be the best place for his career to potentially be rejuvenated if it ever does. So that's why I picked this spot. And it would also benefit both because he probably won't be making a lot of money this year. Next, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is another prediction. Re-signing Justin Fields and starting him. And a lot of this has to do with not really my personal choice, or like if I was running the Steelers, I would not choose Justin Fields as my quarterback, okay? I'd probably rather have Aaron Rodgers. I'd probably rather draft somebody, be aggressive. I'd rather trade for somebody. I'd rather sign Sam Darnold. But I don't think that's going to be the case. The Steelers have not been overly aggressive attacking the quarterback position the last few years. I don't think that's going to change. I think they liked enough of what they saw from Justin Fields last year. The level of success that he had with the team was evident as well early in the season. And I think there are some cool things that you can do with Justin Fields inside an Arthur Smith offense. And I think they'll build around that this offseason. So another cheap option for the Steelers to maintain their level of strength across the roster and to continue to build the entire roster rather than just going all in for a quarterback. It feels like this is a team that rather wants a young cost control quarterback or a cost control quarterback from a veteran perspective. They'd rather have the 29th best starter in the NFL than the 16th best starter, if that means they're paying the 16th best starter $20 more million. So that's why I think they're going to go with Justin Fields here. Now, the AFC South. CJ Stroud obviously will be back as the Texans quarterback. What I'm hoping for with Houston is not only do they make the playoffs for the third straight season with CJ Stroud, but CJ combines his level of play from his rookie season with the level of success that he's had from a winning standpoint. So I want to see CJ Stroud reclaim the throne of being inside the next great quarterbacks in the NFL conversation. It feels like he's been removed from that conversation, at least this offseason. I think he certainly has the talent and the capabilities as a passer to be that type of player, to be that type of guy. And I'm expecting Houston to upgrade the offensive line, to give him some depth at wide receiver, to reinforce, outside of Tank Dell after being injured, all that sort of stuff. The defense is going to be awesome. They've recalibrated their offensive scheme. There's going to be things to really like about the Texans entering 2025. This could be the team that gets the AFC Championship. This could be, if Stroud plays at the best of his ability, they could get to the Super Bowl if everything lines up right. But my expectation is that Stroud bounces back in his third NFL season and takes the Texans even further than he ever has. Next up, we've got Anthony Richardson to the Indianapolis Colts starting as their quarterback once again. Now, I could see this changing, and we're going to talk a little bit of an alternative here for the Indianapolis Colts, a little bit of a bonus, but Anthony Richardson, it feels like they took him, third overall. They haven't seen too much of him, and it feels like they need another entire offseason, another entire installation period with Anthony Richardson, more reps in practice, more reps in training camp, more of an offseason program for him to fix his mechanics, fix his accuracy. And perhaps the Colts could aim with Anthony Richardson really breaking out in his third season, right? Because that is kind of where Josh Allen, sort of broke out. And that's kind of like the range where some of these toolsy quarterbacks, that's where you would aim for them to break out. So I think not starting him would be giving up on him a little too early, given that's where they picked him and they wanted, him to be the franchise guy. And honestly, it's just hard to find a guy with this many unique traits. The size, the speed, the athleticism, the arm strength. He has too many unique traits to just give up on him. But I do think reinforcing him with a stable veteran quarterback who fits the offense well is a good idea. So with the Colts, I would have them also sign Jameis Winston. Now, I love Jameis Winston. He's the best quarterback in the NFL from an entertainment value standpoint. If you want to put booties in seats, NFL, you put Jameis Winston as your starting quarterback. But I would love Jameis in Indy. I think he would fit really well. Like, basically, you know how Flacco was there? I think Jameis is basically a younger, better version at this point than what Joe Flacco was giving them last year. And I feel like he would air the ball out. This is a really underrated receiving core. The O-line is one of the better ones in the NFL. You need protection and you need talented receivers with Jameis. And if you can give him that, he could put up 300 yards a night. He could put up 300 yards a game. And all of a sudden you're cooking, especially if you can limit, the high volume attempt games from Jameis where he's throwing 40 to 50 times like Stefanski and the Browns had him throwing. If you can limit that with some Jonathan Taylor magic out of the backfield and you can complement that with a decent defense, you can win some games. So yeah, Jameis Winston would be actually a great fit if the Anthony Richardson thing goes south, but we'll see if that is the option they would like to go with. I've heard alternatives at this spot for them as well, like that stable veteran quarterback behind. Maybe Jameis is too big of a personality, too likable of an individual for them to go with Jameis because Richardson is a little uncertain, but I think he would be the best fit personally. Trevor Lawrence is obviously going to start for Jacksonville. I mean, Liam Cohen was brought in to fix his game and fix his projection, moving forward because Trevor Lawrence was the generational talent at quarterback. That's what everyone thought, everyone expected, but he hasn't lived up to that. That being said, I could see a huge bounce back season for Trevor Lawrence in a Liam Cohen offense. I think everything he does well from a downfield passing standpoint, from a quick game standpoint, I think that's something I loved about his game in Clemson. Liam Cohen is going to bring that. I think he's going to bring more layups to the offense in the screen game and things like that. And he should be able to juice up the running game just as he did for Tampa Bay. I think they're going to try to install a good, solid offensive line around him to help protect him. And if Lawrence is protected, we know that he's got a cannon and he can make some real nice dimes down the field. And he's also got Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, there's plenty to work with there. The question will be, Trevor Lawrence has had some injury issues. Will they bring back Mac Jones? What will be the solution behind him? I'm not sure. I didn't predict that in this video, but Mac did play okay for them. He was definitely one of the guys that I thought about being a potential bridge option for some of these teams. Next up, we've got the Tennessee Titans making the splash for Sam Darnold. I predicted this one in my free agency predictions. It's just the one that makes the most sense from the standpoint of money and draft rumors. So the rumor is that Tennessee rather is going to move off the first pick or pick Hunter or Abdul Carter. And it feels like Abdul Carter is the lean there. But Sam Darnold just makes sense because if Tennessee is not going to pick Cam Ward, they have to make a move at quarterback. They're not going back and rolling Mason Rudolph out there. They're not going to have Will Levis, posing on the field after a pick six. Sam Darnold's got to be the guy. Like, are you really going to bring in, maybe you could sell me Aaron Rodgers, right? Because it's Aaron Rodgers. But like Russell Wilson's not going to get the fan base excited, You're not going to bring in somebody like Jimmy G or Mac Jones or Daniel Jones or anyone of that nature, right? Kirk Cousins wouldn't even work for me. Like, you're going to have to make a splash. And Tennessee, noted, has been making splashes the last couple of years. Last offseason, they went wild. I mean, Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, right? Like, D-Hop was 2 years ago. They signed Ernest Jones. They traded for him. They traded for L'Jarius Sneed. They signed Quandre Diggs. They signed this guy, that guy. Like, it felt like they were signing everybody. So Sam Darnold would be a guy that would make sense because he would lift the floor of the team. They already had a solid defense last year. We need to see if Callahan's a real coach. Give him a decent quarterback to work with that can run his system. And there are qualities that you'll like about Darnold. Like, he's got a quick release. He's fairly athletic. He's got a good arm. I think he would suit Tennessee's offense fairly well. I think that he will go probably where the money is. So I think Tennessee will offer him a big money contract because I think if they don't pick a quarterback first, this would be the only other solution that really truly makes sense, no? I mean, maybe they're outbid, but I don't know. You guys tell me. Patrick Mahomes, unfortunately, is going to be the starting quarterback at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just kidding. Yeah, of course, Patrick Mahomes boy is going to be the starter of the Chiefs. That being said, the expectation for him is fascinating. I don't think that my expectation is not Super Bowl. My expectation is not winning the Super Bowl. Honestly, I think he would be better suited by putting up a retro Patrick Mahomes season of like 2020. I'd rather see him go out there and throw 40 touchdowns and like throw 5,000 yards this year. Take a year off from getting to the Super Bowl and throwing 21 touchdowns, right? Like, I'd rather see him be the reason they are a good team this year rather than the defense, the special teams, and just ref magic. Like, I want to see Patrick Mahomes playing at the peak of his abilities this year. Feels like we haven't gotten that in a minute. So that is my expectation for Patrick Mahomes. It's not getting to the Super Bowl. It's not winning the Super Bowl because I actually don't think their roster is going to be very good next year. I could be wrong, but I feel like him going out there and just slinging the rock, especially vertically, that's something I want to see from Mahomes next year. Bo Nix, my expectation for him is just continuing to climb, like continuing to get a little bit better. I never expect Bo Nix to be a top 10 quarterback at any point in his NFL career, but I feel like he'll be a good, solid quarterback, like almost like this generation's Andy Dalton, if that makes sense. Like that's kind of what I see from him, but continuing to improve as a pocket passer and a drop back passer would be something that would get me thrilled, continuing to throw the ball down the field well and effectively. I don't even know if I would say my expectation is to get to the playoffs again because I felt like they were a little fortunate to do that. But if they could flirt with the playoffs, but Bo Nix was a better player this year, that would be something I would be happy with. All right, so the team winning is not really huge. I'm just looking for development from him. Next, Justin Herbert is the Chargers starter, Harbaugh's favorite quarterback of all time, as he says in every interview he gets a chance to say. My expectation for Justin Herbert is to win a playoff game. Win a playoff game, right? Has he ever done that? That is the question. I don't think he has. Win a playoff game, okay? The Chargers should be a better roster this year than they were last year. That was always the expectation. I never expected the Chargers to even make the playoffs last year, okay? I thought it was a possibility, but I didn't think that it was very likely given the roster construction. This year, they should have better receivers. They should have a better offensive line. Their defense should be just as capable, right? Like, they've got a lot of salary cap to spend. So for Herbert, can he uplift that supporting cast to playoff victories? Anything more than a playoff win would do him justice as the guy that everyone thinks he is, which is an elite quarterback, right? Finally do it, please. Next, we've got Aaron Rodgers going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I will admit that this is something that I would want to happen, okay? I feel like it's rather the Raiders or the Giants or the Titans for Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. And I think if Darnold is missed in Tennessee, they'll go to Rodgers unless they pick Cam Ward. I feel like the Raiders will maybe flirt with Darnold, but I kind of think that Tom Brady and Pete Carroll will be intrigued by Aaron Rodgers. And I think specifically Tom Brady will be willing to influence the Raiders to sign Aaron Rodgers. Because Tom and Aaron are friends, and Aaron is an older quarterback that I think still showcased plenty of talent last year, plenty of ability. It was more so that he wasn't in the best situation. And I feel like Pete Carroll having the respect of the rivalry over the years against Aaron Rodgers, and also being, a California guy himself, I feel like there will be some sort of ties there to be intrigued. Also, Rodgers in Vegas would be a lot of fun, and I kind of think this would be one of the better fits for Rodgers because I think they've got a pretty underrated offensive line, and I think that with all the salary cap space they have, they could spend it on a wide receiver, maybe bring back Devontae Adams to Las Vegas, and they've already got Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. They have a high draft pick. They've got a lot of money to use, and they've got an intriguing coaching staff. Chip Kelly, The defensive coordinator is underrated. So to me, like, Rodgers in that division would be a lot of fun. You get to see him play Mahomes twice a year, Herbert twice a year, Sean Payton twice a year. There'd be a lot of fun coming out of this location. So I feel like Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders. He could go to the Giants, but I think the Giants are going to make a bold move for a young quarterback. So that's why I swayed towards Rodgers to the Raiders. Dak Prescott will be Dallas's quarterback, whether you like it or you don't. Jerry Jones, that's his man. That's his hand-picked boy, Dak Prescott. He'll be back and healthy this year. My expectation for Dak Prescott is, honestly, like, realistic expectation is for him to stay healthy, play at a borderline Pro Bowl level, and have this team flirting with the wild card. But honestly, I don't think the Cowboys roster is near the level it was 2 years ago. And I think maybe the best days of Prescott and the Cowboys together have kind of gone. I kind of feel that way, unfortunately. Cam Ward will be selected first overall by the New York Giants because they're going to trade up with the Tennessee Titans. That's going to be my prediction right now. I think that the Giants are going to make a bold move for a quarterback in the draft, and I think it will be Cam Ward. I like Ward stylistically matching Brian Daboll to have enough inside the pocket, patience and poise and accuracy and arm angles, along with his ability to be athletic in the right situation. And he's smart. He's picked up 3 different systems throughout his college career. I feel like Ward is clearly the best quarterback in the draft. And I think that he would be the guy that you would want to pick. And I think the Giants almost need to be bold after the embarrassment that was last offseason. So I think to save their jobs, they go with the young quarterback out of the U. Jalen Hurts will be the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, right now it feels like he's being a little overrated, if not a lot overrated, given the Super Bowl victory. And kind of people overlooking the rest of his season being rather vanilla is the best way to describe it. But my expectation for Jalen Hurts is to get back to the NFC Championship as a team and to play just, I feel like statistically, just be better as a passer. Like, just have more games where he's actually winning them the game rather than the defense or the running game, because that's probably unsustainable. So passing game being more influential to their victories and probably getting back to the NFC Championships. It's probably unlikely they win the Super Bowl or get to the Super Bowl again. It's possible, but I'd say the NFC Championship is a fair goal. Next, you got Jaden Daniels. I would not expect the NFC Championship from Jaden Daniels. My expectation would be getting back to the playoffs and having a season like he did last year. I wouldn't say like winning the MVP or being a top 3 MVP candidate, but if he can replicate what he did last year and get his team back to the playoffs, while it would be seen as a slight disappointment, I feel like that is most realistic. I don't think asking him to win the MVP or get to the Super Bowl or win the NFC, that's just not fair, especially given the current climate of his team. I think they need more time. I think the defense needs a lot of development. I think they were a lucky team to get to where they got last year. So I'll say just him individually, get the team back to the playoffs. Caleb Williams. My expectation for him is to look like an NFL starting quarterback and to actually be like an average NFL starting quarterback. If he can get to like, we're talking about Caleb Williams as a top 15 quarterback in the NFL next year, I'll give him 2 thumbs up and I'll be happy, right? If he can be better in those sack percentage situations, like be better with the football, be better with his decision-making, especially under pressure and not taking sacks, right? Being more composed, and then also driving the ball down the field better than he did last year, I'll be happy. If Ben Johnson can hone him in and kind of give us a direction for where we could see Caleb getting to a top 10 level in the next 2 years, that's kind of what I'm looking for from him. I don't even really have a team expectation for Chicago next year. Jared Goff. My expectation for Jared Goff, he's got a lot to deal with, right? Like there's an entirely new coaching staff, no Ben Johnson this year, but he does have pretty much his entire offense backed intact from a pieces standpoint, like a personnel standpoint. So my expectation for him is to get to the playoffs and probably win a playoff game. They actually didn't win a playoff game this year, right? They were the number 1 seed in the NFC and they lost. So win a playoff game. I honestly don't even think my expectation as of right now is to win the NFC or win the Super Bowl. Although that is a thought, it's possible. It's just, I think it's going to be really hard with the coaching staff turnover. Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. My expectation and hope for Jordan Love is consistency. I don't want this roller coaster ride. Maybe that just is who he is, but I want consistent good play. I want maturity and development. I want more consistent accuracy. I want more consistent touch. I want more consistency in his decision making. I want more consistency, less erratic nature, okay? I think this team can still be a playoff team, although I'm not certain of that yet. I feel like just having a more consistent quarterback would certainly help. JJ McCarthy is going to be my prediction for the Minnesota Vikings. He would fall into the maybe category, right? Like, he would be a guy that I think will be the starter for this team, but I'm not certain will be the starter for this team. You know, him along with Anthony Richardson, you know, I'm not exactly sure if he'll be the starter for the team, but I think he'll be the starter for the team. You know, those are the only guys I think so far that we've really discussed where it's like, maybe they'll be the starter, maybe they won't, but JJ McCarthy certainly is. I don't know if I can really say an expectation. I think my expectation would be that he's good enough to make it so that, like, letting Sam Darnold walk doesn't look idiotic. I'm not expecting him to take this team to the playoffs even. I'm just expecting him to look decent, especially with the supporting cast that he has. I think it's fairly easy. I don't know if easy is the right word, but it's fairly manageable to ask him to play at a manageable level. So he's a maybe. Like, they could bring in like Aaron Rodgers. That would be hilarious. They could bring in, you know, a veteran quarterback to kind of stabilize this team early in the season, right? Like, they could have Daniel Jones come back. They could have Jimmy G come in there or something, right? But I think JJ will be their guy. I think he's just going to roll out there and play. I think it's time. So get him out there. Next, Michael Penix Jr. He's probably certainly their quarterback, right? Like, Kirk Cousins pretty much has no chance of being their quarterback. What's the decision there? He's going to be traded. He's going to be released, right? Penix is certainly going to be the guy. My expectation for him is to look like a guy that should have been a first-round pick. You know, like, look like a guy. I don't think he's going to take this team to the playoffs. I honestly don't think Atlanta will be very good. I don't really love Raheem Morris, and I think they do have holes on their roster, and I'm not the biggest Michael Penix guy. But if he could win like 7 games, 8 games next year and put up decent numbers, it could show us that maybe he was worth the pick, right? So, I mean, honestly, like, Atlanta has a terrible front office, so I don't, it's difficult to say here. Next, we've got Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Obvious, certain starter for Carolina. I guess you could say it's like pretty certain, not 100%, maybe like 90, but Bryce Young, I feel like my expectation for him is to actually have this team in a competitive week-to-week environment. I'm not even saying they should be in the mix for their division. Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. We'll see how their offseason goes. Right now, their roster is not deserving of that attention, right? Even Atlanta is probably a little bit better than them. But if they can be competitive week to week and he can be looking like he did at late last season stage, he's looking like a franchise quarterback. Maybe not a top 10 guy, but a guy that can win you some games. So Bryce Young, my expectation for you is just give Carolina some certainty at the position. Derek Carr is a maybe for me. Derek Carr might be the starter of New Orleans. It's not 100%. He could get traded. I wouldn't be shocked if he were to get traded to Tennessee, or if he were to get traded to the Giants, or if he were to get traded to the Jets. That wouldn't be something that would be outlandish in my opinion. Maybe not the Raiders. That would be crazy. But yeah, Derek Carr probably will be the starter of the Saints, just given his contract. And I actually thought he played decent last year. I could see Kellen Moore working with him. If he is the starter of the Saints, my expectation for him would actually be putting this team kind of like Bryce, like competitive, but I'm not sure if they would be in, because their defense is certainly not the same on paper as it used to be. Their offense, though, could be pretty appetizing. Like, I guess my opinion or my expectation would be to have this offense in a top 15, top half of the NFL sort of environment. I'm not sure that defensively, though, they'll be good enough. Next, Baker Mayfield. My expectation probably isn't to play as well as he did last year. He lost Liam Cohen. I think Todd Bowles is not a good head coach, in my opinion. And, Godwin, is he back? Is he not? He's hurt, though, coming back. Mike Evans is only getting older. So my expectation for him is to play at a Pro Bowl level again. Maybe not a borderline MVP level like he did last year, but a Pro Bowl level, and to have this team flirting with their division win once again. I think they do need to make some improvements, both to their defense especially, and their offense, but I feel like Baker is by far the best quarterback in this division. Next, Kyler Murray. My expectation for Kyler is to stop playing Call of Duty and also to take his job. No, I'm serious. Take his job seriously. No, but seriously, I feel like Kyler is a certain starter next year. I think he's kind of in that Bryce Young range where it's like he's a pretty darn sure starter next year. It's not like 110% certain. Like, if Kyler Murray got traded, I wouldn't be that surprised. Like, it would be like, oh, okay. But like, I didn't see that one coming, but yeah, okay, I understand. Like, that would kind of be my response to it. But Kyler Murray, I want to see more consistency, kind of like Jordan Love. I want to see him take this team to a different place than where they've been the last couple of years. And I understand that's part of the team construction. They have not been the best. But if they could be right there with the Rams and the Niners, I would be happy. I think Kyler needs to prove that he is more than just a game manager or an average player. I think he needs to prove to us that he's a baller again. Like, he's had moments like that, but it's not been consistent. And if he doesn't, I feel like they could be on to the next guy next year. Matthew Stafford, my expectation is to stay healthy. My hope is to stay healthy. My expectation for the Rams next season is to be in an NFC contender slot. That doesn't mean win the NFC Championship. That doesn't mean get to the Super Bowl. But it means they're in the conversation. And I think one more great year from Stafford would certainly aid them to that, especially after giving the money he was given. So they need to be put in that situation from Stafford. The worst thing that could happen is if he gets hurt or something. But that's also possible given his track record. Next, Brock Purdy. My expectation for Purdy is to prove that he is getting better, like actually improving. That's a weird answer. I think taking the Niners back to the playoffs would be a start. I think taking the Niners back to the NFC Championship would be even better. But I feel like proving that he's getting better, like we're seeing areas of progression, whether it be his deep ball, whether it be his physical game, like arm strength, whether it be his development as a decision maker, his development within the offense, getting better. Because it felt like last year, while there were high highs for him last year, I will say that, there were also low lows. So having less of those low lows would go a long way. Having more stability, and then also because he has games where he poops himself. Like, that is definitely Brock Purdy. But at the same time, I feel like if he could just prove to us that he really is as good as the contract might suggest he is, that would go a long way. And finally, Geno Smith, who is a maybe for me. Like, Geno could be traded and Geno could be replaced. And I wouldn't be shocked. But I do think Seattle likes Geno, and I do think McDonald likes Geno, and I do think he will come back. So it's a maybe. It's a strong maybe. But like, Geno to me is too good to really like be a maybe. Like, Anthony Richardson and JJ McCarthy have not proven to be the quarterback that Geno is. You know what I mean? And Geno has kind of had less of a leash in the NFL than Derek Carr, where Derek Carr has kind of proven that he can't really get you anywhere. Geno, it feels like they haven't been in the best situation for him to really get them somewhere, although he has played pretty well over the last few years. Like, he's played at a just under a Pro Bowl level, like a mid-level. At least, 1 year he had a Pro Bowl type season, but the other years he's kind of like been mid. But it's kind of been because of the offensive line and the makeup of the offense and the scheme and the defense. That's at least in my opinion. Like, I don't think Geno's been put in a Brock Purdy situation. So Yeah, Geno Smith is a maybe, and that's the final starter in this video, guys. So let me know what you thought of my prediction for every starter in the NFL in 2025. It's Mitch. Thank you so much for watching. Gronk, spike the like button. Let me know, comment any video idea you have. I'm always looking for ideas, especially videos like this. If you have any opinion or idea, let me know in the comments. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you next time. Peace.